Hi, middle-aged gamers. Welcome back to another middle-aged gaming podcast, and we are happily joined by Antoine today, who is crazy busy at work. But like any middle-aged gamer, he's got to take a break. He's got to talk about some gaming, got to relax. And I'm not going to babble on too much. As usual, we have some hot breaking news, some games we're playing. If we had a chance to get down to it today, we will get a chance to talk about it. But let's get straight into it. Antoine, I think we should start with your story first.
Okay, fair enough. So that's my for my fellow Xbox Game Passer. Well, anyway, Xbox Game Pass on PC. You know that you get some first day release of some games sometimes, like you will have Starfield at the end of the year. And this month you have the last case of Benedict Fox, which apparently had a big hype, and I didn't know about this game until it was all over the news. So I wanted to check, and it looks really cool, to be honest. Just to give you a taste of it, that's just my view of it. Okay, so you can tell me I'm crazy, but it's a side scroller, very pretty side scroller. For me, it's a mix of Little Nightmare and Alice Madness in Wonderland. Although Alice is not a side scroller, but it's the same kind of madness because you are with your self-declared detective Benedict Fox, who's going into his grandpa's mansion. That grandpa used to be in some kind of cult, and then Benedict is talking to the deceased, and there's lots of stories about demons and Lovecraftian creatures. It looks really, really cool. So if you have Game Pass, it's free for you. Isn't it perfect? So again, fantastic free game. After the free Sonic game, this is the free Xbox Game Pass game of the month, and I will try it. And I'd suggest you try it too, and you come and tell me what you think about it.
Okay. You mentioned Xbox Game Pass. Is it on PC Game Pass as well?
PC Game Pass, yes. Yeah, I don't have the Xbox. I'm talking always about the PC version.
Oh, okay.
So it's just such a long name. Game Pass.
Yeah, because I think I tell you guys? Yeah, I got into Game Pass last week.
You did?
Yeah.
Welcome to the family.
Well, I used to be on Game Pass before, but I stopped, and then I jumped on because I was just, I have my on Steam. You have Steam Family Sharing, right? And I think between my brothers and I, we have 1,000 games, and I still couldn't find anything to play there to satisfy to help me appease my dissatisfaction lately with work and all things related to work. So I'm like, screw it. Game Pass has some action-y shooting games, and I want to play something like that. I got Game Pass. It was a bit of a pain to buy it in town. I ended up buying a Game Pass card on Amazon. And then Amazon's US Game Pass did not work, which made me angry. So that was $30 down the drain for 3 months. So I ended up buying another $30 card on another place. But anyway, I've got a Game Pass. This is going to be my number 2 game because I'm playing Everspace at the moment, and the art looks fantastic. Thank you for the suggestion.
My pleasure.
So was it just the number that you got on the card that didn't work, or was this because you're in Taiwan, it was an issue?
I guess it is a US Game Pass card, and because I bought it from Taiwan, this is what the Microsoft site says that caused me the issue. Yeah.
So you were trying to apply it to a Taiwanese Xbox account, or?
See, it's weird. You have to add Game Pass. Yeah, I think you have to buy it in Taiwan, but they don't sell Game Pass accounts because I went to Family Mart and 7-Eleven, and they have PlayStation, of course. They have Apple. They have Android stuff. There's no Xbox cards that you can buy in a store in Taiwan, which is great.
They used to.
But you have to apply through. You have to log into your Microsoft account in order for it to apply on Game Pass. You can't do it through the Game Pass interface, which has the redeem button that says redeem this gift card. And nope, that doesn't work. You have to apply to your Microsoft account.
Could you just do a direct transfer with your bank?
See, I put in my debit card, and for some reason it was not working. And then I tried a credit card, and I have 3 credit cards. None of those worked. I'm like, screw it, Microsoft. If you don't want my money, you're gonna have to make me do this in a very crazy way. So I did the crazy way, and it worked. And I hope to God, come 3 months' time, as a middle-aged gamer, that I will remember what was the crazy way, because I've already forgotten. Anyway, that's it. Antoine, any final thoughts about this?
No, it's just a very cool free game, and with some very nice art, and really cool story. So I'm gonna try that. So I really like this kind of, as you can see on the trailer right now, this kind of noir 50s kind of series. The vibe looks cool, so I wanna try that
Do you know what
if
the
I have
price
time.
is for people who want to like support the developer and stuff?
I have no clue. I have
Okay.
absolutely no clue, so I'm gonna give a standard $60 or $80 Canadian. Let me see if I can find it on Steam, but
I looked it up because it's no. Actually, I was looking something else up, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not on Steam.
it's not. The last case of Benedict Fox on Steam would be released on 27th. Yes, thank you, but I don't see. There's no price here. You can buy it early. So
Yeah.
it's on
Also,
Steam. It's on Steam, but there's no price yet.
cool. Good to know. I guess we'll just have to keep an eye. I'm curious. This looks like a $30 US price point. That's what
That's
I'm
what
thinking.
exactly. That's what I
Yeah.
was thinking, more or less.
All right, Mr. Gray, hit us with your story.
All right, so my story for today is Horizon Forbidden West DLC, Burning Shores. Comes out today. So if you are unaware of that, that's happening. So they definitely, this is PS5 only. This is not going to be on PS4. So if you have the PS4 version of the game, you will not be able to play the DLC. There are a lot of graphical updates. Yes.
Oh, okay. You just answered the question. Keep going. Sorry.
There are a lot of graphical updates. If you go online, you can see people talking about the clouds, the way they've done diffusion with the clouds and whatnot. This just wouldn't be able to run on the PS4. So it looks like, PlayStation is slowly kind of moving into the next generation. They did the same thing with Final Fantasy VII Intergrade, where they released the base game on one console, and then the DLC is or on both consoles, and then the DLC is only on one console. Also, if you're gonna see in the trailer that they fight one of the Metal Lords, one of the really really big machines, the Horus types, but I don't know if that would be possible on the PS4 or not, or if it was, they might have to graphically downgrade it significantly to be able to get something that large on the screen up and moving. So they've added a few new things. Obviously, you're going to be getting new gear. You're going to be getting new weapons, armor, that sort of thing. We're in a new location. They're in Los Angeles now. The Quinn, which is one of the tribes that were introduced in Forbidden West, have set up kind of a base down there, and they're having trouble. So we get a call from Silence. You go down there, see what's going on. We're also going to be using Zenith Tech, which is what you can see Aloy using at the end there, which for me personally, I'm kind of on the fence about, because I do feel like the appeal to me always was kind of that we're using these primitive weapons to take down these big machines, but now that we have access to this super technology, it's kind of like I don't know. I worry that maybe the feel is going to drastically change. It's kind of like if you were playing, say, a survival game, and then suddenly you have access to, a factory that can churn out food and guns and everything. And it's like, well, where's the, it's not about, it just changes the focus of the game. So I'm a little worried about that myself, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll be introduced in a really good way. They've also added a new patch, and this patch is adding a lot of accessibility features, such as enlarging subtitles, auto pickup. So if you're running around, you don't have to pick up every little plant. It'll just automatically collect the plants as you run through an area. Blindness settings, auto camera. I'm not quite sure what that does, but some kind of fix to the camera. Navigation assist in focus mode. Thalassophobia mode. So that is a fear of deep water. So they're adding a mode to basically change the lighting and clear up the deep water so that you can see a lot more clearly. So it's not so horrifying to people who have a fear of deep water, which is a really interesting idea. And I think that's part of, well, I'll get into that. And then additional accessibility features. I think part of the reason this patch is also only available on PS5. The patch is not available on PS4. And I think part of it is that thalassophobia mode, just rendering basically an entire seabed. I think maybe the idea is a PlayStation 4 would struggle with that. And so it's kind of like, okay, we can only do this on modern systems. So all those updates, you're getting a new flying mount that can go underwater now. Yeah, so I'm looking really forward to it. I have it pre-installed on my PS5. My only complaint is that when you beat the game, one of their original patches added ultra hard mode, in ultra hard mode, it was said, when you beat the game, you can change the difficulty setting. So so people would play through on hard mode, and then they think, okay, now I'm going to go farm. Well, you can change the setting, but the only way to change the setting is to do New Game Plus. So, and the only way to access the DLC is to have beaten the game. So if you're like me and you have your ultra hard save, if you wanted to play it not on ultra hard, you would have to start over again and play the entire game again to get to the end. So it looks like I'm just going to have to play it on ultra hard because I don't feel like going through the entire story again. But I have seen other people mention that online, that they were kind of hoping they would allow us to do what it says and change the difficulty upon completion of the game. But again, they haven't added that. So questions?
I figured Antoine would have something to say, given he's the Horizon person.
Well, yeah, it's a great move by PlayStation to make me move away from them. I hate them, literally. They allow me to play the base game. They don't allow me to finish the story. Go to hell. Go to
That
hell.
is totally not the opinion I was expecting.
No, I can't play. I have a PlayStation 4. I'm not going to buy a PS5, at least not in the year or something. So you let me buy the base game on PS4. I can't buy the DLC. What kind of move is that? If you want a PS5, a next-gen game, put your base game PS5, then your story is clear. This game is next-gen, it's PS5 only, and that's how it's going to be. Just don't be like, yeah, I'm going to put a PS4 so I can reach more bigger player base. But you know what? Because of the graphics increase and all, the DLC will be... No, that's a terrible move. I'm not buying games which are PS4, PS5, because I know now that the DLC will be PS5 only, or I'm gonna fear that it is, even if it's not true. So why would I go and buy PlayStation games? That's just losing the base of players like me, because that's something I would love to play. I'm not gonna buy a PS5 for that. I would buy a PS5 just to play Final Fantasy 16. And I understand that FF16 is a PS5 game, and the DLC will be PS5, and that's fine. If I want to play FF16, I have to buy a PS5. Don't make me think that I can play Forbidden West just to put the DLC on PS5. No. I'm sorry. I'm extremely disappointed by them, and now I'm moving away from PlayStation. I'm moving away from Sony and going to Xbox and Microsoft. That I never thought I would say that before, but that's just how it is, and I'm kind of disappointed with this. Really.
Adam, is that a popular take? Because I haven't read anything about this.
I would assume people who only have PS4, absolutely. Because I think I agree with Antoine. I think this is very similar to how people feel with a lot of these big acquisitions, like the acquisition of Bethesda or Blizzard, where it's, I've been a fan of a series for a long time, right? Like Elder Scrolls. And then now my console of choice can no longer, I no longer have access to this franchise. And this is kind of a microcosm of that, where, yeah, it's not, say, an entire, it's like Antoine said, Final Fantasy 16, I get it, we're progressing ahead. But, the fact that I invested in this ecosystem and now I can no longer access games from that franchise in my ecosystem of choice, with a DLC, I feel like it's even more so that, because it's like, okay, I get the game. I would expect the DLC for that game, maybe not the sequel to be on the same console, but you would expect, because the game exists on PS4, and then you lose access to the DLC, and then it's just kind of like, wait, I have to buy a PS5 now and buy
Reduce
the
whole
upgrade
game.
to the game, right? Exactly. Horizon Forbidden West was one of those games where they had separate pricing for the PS5 version and the PS4 version. I think that was the one where they went back on it in the end and made it one price. But yeah, I actually haven't heard too many people complain about that, but I would think that there's probably a lot of people that feel that
I'm
way.
pissed. I'm pissed, I'm telling you.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people too, like for instance in Antoine's case or something, might have said, if I had known this from the beginning, I would have just held off on buying it until I got the PS5, or I would just hold off on buying it until it comes to PC, where I can get the full version. Not I get the game and then I can't access the DLC. I have to get it again to get that DLC down the road. You know what I mean? It feels incomplete, even though it is a complete game. I could definitely understand the sentiment.
So just to resume, if I want to play the DLC, I have to buy a PS5 and I have to buy a new version of Horizon.
You have
Plus
to.
the
You
DLC.
don't anymore. I think Horizon was the game where they were saying, okay, because they said up until this point there's going to be one price, and then Horizon was delayed, and then they said there were going to be two prices for Horizon. People said Horizon was intended to be released before that point, so there shouldn't be different prices. There should be one price. And then they said, okay, and they backtracked on it. And then there was that controversy where the PS5 version, people were saying there's zero reason to buy the PS5 version because the PS4 version gives you access to the PS5 version, but it's cheaper because they never changed the price of the PS5 version. So that was a whole controversy back then. But if you bought the PS4 version, I think you have access. I think it was cross-buy, so I think you have access to the PS5 version. So if you ever got a PS5, then you would have that version.
I entry doing the game on just not even New Game Plus, just the base. No. That's just a no. I'm not gonna buy a PS5 just for DLC. That's just a very bad commercial move, and I hate you, Sony, for that. That's really bad what you did. And I hope that you will backtrack and put a PS4 version with downgraded, design. I don't care if it's downgraded; it's fine. Just yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they even can. I don't know what all, because I know, for instance, in Intergrade, the reason that they upgraded it was because they were like, we can do things here that we couldn't even do in the base game. So, it was one of those things where, like, with a new generation, we have all this processing power. We can do things that we could never do before. We can make faster loading zones, or we can create larger zones, or we can add levels of detail or animation, or things can be processed in real time, so we can increase the way animation is done and things like that. So a lot of times, so that was why they wanted to go with the new version, was because they said we can do things that we couldn't do with the base game. And in this case, it's probably the same thing. So it's probably, since it was designed with the PS5 in mind, they probably couldn't downgrade it even if they wanted to.
I don't care. It's just bad planning. You want to do a PS5 game? Do it on the sequel, or Horizon 3, or Final Fantasy Episode 2, not on a DLC. It's just stupid. It's not a different game. It's the same game with additional story. It's like you can play Diablo 4, but now you can't play the season pass because your machine is not strong enough. We added stuff. And remove it, idiot. I just absolutely can't get behind it. It's not a reason, it's an excuse. And a very bad excuse for very bad planning. That's just how it is for me. And again, a lot of work, kind of tired and stressed. I'm not gonna let go of this. I'm gonna yell at that. I don't care. Change my mind. I won't.
Yeah, I'll agree it's a bad reason. I wouldn't say it's a bad excuse, because I understand from a developer standpoint, you want to be able to create as much as you can. So
not DLC. Sequel.
But the sequel's just years and years and years down the line. This is something you can do now. So
think about it years and years before. I don't care. Not my problem. I'm a player. I want to play my whole game. I don't want to play part of it. Anyway, that's just my take, and you won't change my mind. That's how it is.
I don't want to change your mind. I think you're right. I think they should have made it for both. But
yes. Anyway, next story.
I think when we go on to Antoine's second story while I deal with some work slacks.
Okay, fair enough. That's going to be a very quick one because it's just an article saying, so last week I was talking about the PlayStation State of Play. So this year I'm going to go to another producer. Anyway, Blizzard is hosting a Diablo 4 developer update. It's Thursday, April 20th. and it's gonna be 90 minutes long, especially on Diablo 4, with result and what they learn from the beta testing, and they gonna give us more news about the end game. I don't think they can spoil the end game, but that's what they say. But about more news about story, beta learnings regarding classes and dungeons. And if you like Diablo 4 like me and you want to have more news about it, then basically go to see the Blizzard, not state of play, but the Blizzard conference. It's 90 minutes and it will be on Thursday. So take a look, and there should be a lot of brand new crunchy news about it. So can't wait to see what they learned, from these 2 weekends of beta. And that's it. I would love to have Phil, debate with me on this, but he's not here, so.
So, is there going to be another open beta between then and now, or after that?
No. No. No, you wait until end of June to play. Those are two weekend of betas to learn what was wrong and what the feedback from the players was. They analyzed the result, and they're gonna tell us everything about it on Thursday.
All right.
I don't have the exact time though, so I would expect it's Pacific time, same as last time. But
And what sort of feedback are you looking for?
some maybe some balance between the games, some more details on the regions. Not so much. I don't really want to see so much about details about what they took from the beta, because I'm sure there's some balancing issue or some maybe little bugs that they corrected that they learned about, and they're gonna tell us about it. Maybe some more details about what's to come. That's what I want to see. More to create more hype about the story and things like this. Maybe if they can give us a little preview of if they plan to add some characters, which characters they would add. Not at launch, of course. At launch it will be the 5 classes, which is already great. But in the future there's gonna be a lot more added to it. So if they can give us a little roadmap of what's gonna happen in this year, next year, and things like this. I don't know exactly, but it's 90 minutes. They can't just go 90 minutes on what happened on the beta and what lesson they took. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much they add.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Then let's jump into my story, which is that Microsoft might be working on a Windows handheld mode for Steam Deck. So apparently you guys love the Asus ROG Ally. You're all into Switch's console, Logitech's streaming. You loved Adam's Cube Lite video because we had a bunch of those shorts as well. So I think handhelds are not going anywhere anytime soon. And I think it makes a lot of sense for Microsoft, basically, because at the moment, right, Steam and Steam OS runs on Linux, so it's a Linux version of the operating system. And it makes sense for you to be able to use Windows on your Steam Deck, right? Or to, basically have a full operating system. And it wouldn't surprise me if at some point Steam has a physical dock, which allows you to use Windows on the TV. And I think it's fantastic. I think it's something that you can have a little machine that you can take around with you if you're somebody who has to work or then on holiday, or you're going to travel or something like that, and take your Steam Deck, play some games in bed, dock it, and then maybe play some games. Maybe you could even have that thing that the Switch does, where it has all that extra power when you do have it docked, and you can. I would imagine maybe that's the Steam Deck 2, where you can play 4K when it's docked and 1080p when it's not docked. That would be wonderful. But yeah, I think it makes sense, and I think portable gaming is the future. I don't know what you guys think.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I don't know. Is there really an advantage to a Windows version of it, though? I mean, the Steam OS, I'm assuming, is made to be as efficient as possible and put as little strain on the Steam Deck so it can, use more of its processing power for games and stuff like that. Would putting a Windows OS actually put more strain on it in that sense. And then, I mean, is there an advantage to that other than maybe some games that are on Windows that aren't on Steam?
Commercial one to have Microsoft getting closer to Valve. I'm feeling the Microsoft's expansion. Oh, Steam Deck is actually selling very well. Let's get into it.
I mean, I would say the one advantage is you can potentially, and I think we've talked about this before on the podcast, is that you could have Game Pass running on the Steam Deck at some point in the future, right? And now I remember we talked about this, is that Microsoft wanted to run Game Pass on the Switch, but Nintendo wouldn't allow it, right? And this goes into the App Store and App Store take rates of like 30% commission on sales and that sort of stuff. But I think that's what Microsoft wants, and I mean, I don't see why you couldn't have it running. I mean, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11 have become more mobile friendly, more touch friendly. So yeah, I mean, there's a huge advantage for Windows running on a Steam Deck.
I'm wondering as well if, because you know that Valve is a big VR headset maker, and we know that they are in the process of making a new one. Would it run better, you know, with a Microsoft version with an OS like this, you know, like Steam Deck? Maybe you dock it, as you just said, and puff, you put a brand new VR headset which doesn't require a $3,000 computer to run. That'd be nice, you know, like a handheld version of the PlayStation VR headset with the Microsoft OS behind. Could that be made for future plans like this? I don't know.
It's possible. Cool. All right. Let's move on to Adam's second story.
Okay. So my second story is that Final Fantasy 16, Antoine talked about it last week, had their state of play, and it is 25-ish minutes long, so there is a lot that they covered. Mostly, basically, they were talking about how gameplay works. So the way it looks like you're going to be playing is you can't control your other party members. You can send them commands. So, for example, you can say, like, okay, I want you to attack. I want you to defend. I want you to heal. That sort of thing. But you can't control them directly. But the way combat seems to work, from what I'm looking at with the UI, it looks similar to Dragon's Dogma, where you have your, your triangle, your circle, your square, your X button. And X is jump, square is attack, triangle is some sort of spell that is associated with whichever icon you currently have equipped. So if you have Shiva, you cast ice. If you have Ifrit, you cast fire. And, obviously other ones like Odin has some non-elemental magic or maybe some kind of defensive magic or something like that. And then you can switch your icons on the fly. So whichever icon you have, then you can get access to their spells. If you hold down R2, you get another wheel of abilities. So in that sense, it reminds me of, say, Dragon's Dogma or Phantasy Star, where you have your basic and you hold down a button and then it pops up, another layer of commands, that sort of thing. So they talked about that quite a bit. They talked about accessibility. In this game, there are no difficulty settings, so you cannot make it easier or harder. However, they have accessories in the game that you can equip to make the game easier. So they call these timely accessories. So for instance, they have an accessory called Timely Dodge. And what that will do is when an attack is about to hit you, time slows down, a ring appears on the screen, and if you hit the dodge button within that time, you dodge the attack. So things like that will make it a lot easier because it basically makes the window for needing to dodge much, much higher. Or you could equip an accessory that is automatic dodge, and then you will automatically dodge and you don't even have to really, dodge at all, which in a lot of ways reminds me of Nier Automata, because they had, for an easy mode, they had, I don't remember what, like a chipset that you could equip, and those things were things like auto attack, auto dodge, those sort of things, to the point where you could actually completely automate gameplay, where if you got into a fight, you could put the controller down and it would take over the fight for you. And it looks like this might be doing something very similar in that regard. And they also have a story mode, which at the very beginning of the game, if you select story mode, it just equips all those accessories from the get-go, and it'll just make it so that the game should be trivially easy for you because it basically auto-plays. So there are no difficulty settings, but there are ways to make it a lot easier if you only want to worry about the story and you don't want to focus on the combat and that sort of thing. Also, another thing that kind of reminds me of Nier Automata. To me, this feels like they're taking a lot of inspiration from Nier. Part of it was like what I said with the chipset thing, but then also too, just the gameplay itself, where traditionally in Final Fantasy, going way back, we had turn-based, and then we had some kind of real time, like in Final Fantasy 15. But in this, you're going to get into fights, and some fights are going to be kind of real time, like what you would expect in, say, Devil May Cry or Final Fantasy 15. At other times, it's going to be, you're going to have your two guys on the two sides, and they're going to fight like a Street Fighter style thing. And if you can even see at the top, it has 2 health bars, one for you, one for your enemy. So it goes into like a Street Fighter kind of mode. They have 3D shooter mode, basically, where it's like the side scrolling shooter, like the old games like Galaga and that sort of thing. So they're adding a whole bunch of different, and they said each icon fight is going to play out differently. So when you're fighting Bahamut, who's a flying enemy, you're going to be fighting him in a certain way. When you fight Titan, which is just a massive enemy, you're going to be fighting him in a certain way. So each fight is going to be unique. It's not going to be, it's not just one style of combat throughout the entire game. So in a lot of ways, I've definitely seen people say this doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy. And if I had to say gameplay-wise, it actually looks closer to a Nier game. But the setting, the story, all that is very classic Final Fantasy. So it'll be interesting to see how people receive it. So far, it's been mostly received pretty positively. A lot of people are kind of giving the graphics a really hard time. The graphics do look subpar when you're looking at something like, say, Horizon Forbidden West, or what is it, Senua's Hellblade, that game. When you look at some of these really graphically intense games, this does look several steps back. So the question is, why does it need the PS5's processing power if graphically it's not that intensive? If I had to guess, I would say some of these set pieces are just absolutely massive, and there's just a lot going on in them. For instance, the Titan fight has these giant stone pillars flying around and all that. So I would have to say maybe it's not using it so much on the graphics as it is on just the number of things on screen, particle effects, just the number of enemies. It can, it's just processing. What it's processing is simpler, but it's processing way more of it. So I think it's just that is what is it. But yeah, there are going to be a lot of people asking, why could this not be released on other consoles? Why does it have to be PS5? And looking at the trailer, that's a very legitimate question, I will say. So, but yeah, that's basically everything, if I can remember. Yep. So.
The only other fantasy person has to comment here, because I have nothing to say about this.
Well, unique fights. They did it in the FF15. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when you fight the Titan or Shiva or stuff, it's always scripted in a way that all the fights are unique, which is good. It's just that the way that to summon your summons in FF15 is complete trash. And I'm being polite not to be beeped on YouTube, of course. But I really hope that they understood their mistake from 15, summon-wise at least, because the summons were completely useless in 15. Apparently, with the system that they have in 16, they corrected a bit. I don't mind the change because the game has to evolve. Nier was a very good game. If they have influence from it, good for them, to be honest. It's always the same. I laugh because a couple of days ago, I saw an article saying, yeah, Final Fantasy is moving for the future generation, so the original fan base is based. And yeah, you said the same for 10, 12, 13, 15. Every time there's a new Final Fantasy, they say it. Same article, same words, they just change the numbers. Of course, the game has to evolve. Of course, you can't make the same game as you did 20 years ago. If some great ideas can be picked from other great games like Nier, and if they make it work, then it's a good idea. I don't mind that. Graphic-wise, again, I'm pretty sure that it's just a commercial way to sell PS5 and say officially we are not making PS4/PS5 game, but now we are fully 1.5 years after releasing PS5 or 2 years or whatever. We are making PS5 only games. I think that it's one of my explanation, because from what you see, it could run on PS4 perfectly. There's nothing better than FF15 graphic-wise. I don't know what you think, but it doesn't look that much prettier. So I don't see why, apart from the commercial aspect. What did they say? It's much shorter. So the main storyline is supposed to be done in 30-40 hours. So it's supposed to be shorter. Again, as long as you streamline the main story, 30-40 hours, not that short. So because there's always side quests, so you're gonna end up playing 80-100 hours anyway. So it's a moot point, to be honest. We'll see how it goes. I was really disappointed with in the last Final Fantasy games how they made use of the summons. So that's one of the main points that I want to see what they do with it.
Those are very different. The way it works in this world is the summons are there are people called dominants, and a dominant can basically transform themselves into one of these summons. So you only have one dominant per icon. But for whatever reason, Clive's brother, his younger brother, was the dominant for Phoenix. But for whatever reason, Clive has this ability that he can either take over or copy these. And so that's why he is the only person who seems to have access to multiple forms. And so I don't know if maybe a limit break allows you to transform, or if you only transform in certain parts of the story. But when you're regularly fighting, for instance, if he's using, if he has Odin equipped, then he can use certain abilities, like there's something called Sheath, where I guess he just puts the sword in and then pulls it out. Or he can get the, I don't know how to pronounce it. Was it Zanzakuken or whatever, the attack that Odin does? If he switches to Bahamut, he can get wings on his back and basically do Dragoon-style attacks. So he doesn't summon the icons themselves, but he can transform into them under certain conditions. And I don't know if that is a limit break where you can transform fully into Ifrit, or if you can only transform into Ifrit during boss fights, and then it's only done then. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be random like it was in 15.
Yeah, that's the under certain condition, which just sends big shivers down my spine. Because in FF15, that's exactly how you do your summons, under certain conditions that you never meet, because it's mainly when you are low health, and I've seen 2 summons or 3, and one of them was scripted. So, but I think it's a good idea. Did you see when they transform into their summons? Is it like FF10 and the other party members disappear from the ground, or they are still around?
Every time I've seen Clive in his summoned form, it's always been in a boss fight. So every time, I've never seen him fighting smaller enemies as it. So it looks like it might be scripted, where it's like, okay, we're fighting this other guy. He's the dominant of Titan. He's gonna go all out, Super Saiyan mode. So we go all out. We go into our Ifrit mode, and then you fight that way. And so if I had to guess, I would say you can only access your the fully summoned form in scripted battles, where you're not accessing it in the field. This is something that's basically reserved for special situations.
Very, very not hyped about that.
That's my assumption.
Let's hope it's wrong. Sorry, but if you can't really control your powers, what's the point?
You control your powers. Yes. You just can't. I just don't think you can go into that big form.
I had lots of fun in the old FF summoning, like Bahamut, especially in 7, like the one who threw orbital beams onto a poor frog. That was fun. to see the poor frog getting obliterated. They're like, ha ha ha, poor guy. That was fun. It's just for boss battle, and yay, ooh, climax, yay.
Yeah, they do
Anyway.
say limit breaks return, and I haven't seen anything that's clearly a limit break. So I don't know. Maybe a limit break is you can choose which summon you can now access your summoned form. I don't know.
Just don't listen to me tonight. I'm full of sarcasm. I'm just tired. So
Uh,
you can hear it, I'm sure, but in certain conditions. I'm not gonna buy PS5 for that if it's under certain conditions. No.
The other thing is this is going to be chapter based, similar to Final Fantasy VII Remake. So you are playing throughout Clive's life. There are 3 separate points in his life. The first one's when he's a teenager. Second one, he's in his 20s. Third one, he's 33 years old, which makes him the oldest Final Fantasy protagonist ever. Yeah, I know, 33, and he's the oldest protagonist ever, right? Not the oldest character, obviously. Some characters have been older, but he'll be the oldest protagonist. But because of that, if once you've completed chapters, or maybe once you've completed the game, you can actually choose which chapter you want to play. So if you want to fight a certain boss again or something like that, you can just go back to that chapter, load it up, and then go back and do that. Kind of like in Final Fantasy VII Remake, where it was like, oh, okay, I really enjoyed this chapter. I don't want to have to play through the whole game. I just want to go straight to that part. And you can just say, okay, go straight to chapter 13 or something like that. So it is going to be using that structure.
Yeah, no, like a book. Yeah, it's fine, I guess. But for this, they really need to... Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, finish, Antoine. I was just like, I gave you guys 10 minutes for Final Fantasy talk, and we've already gone past.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
I see.
No,
again, it's a very good idea, as long as the fight, is climatic enough for you to just redo it by itself without the story around. So they must be very confident in their boss battles.
This is my fault. I unleashed the beast when I said, Antoine, I don't know anything about Final Fantasy. You should talk. Never do that again, middle-aged games. I should have learned my lesson. This is the 7th time. Yep, I'm counting.
Never learn.
All right. I think I'm going to skip my last story so we can talk about games we have been playing. And Antoine, have you been playing? Have you managed to have any time to play any games this week? Mobile, self, or otherwise?
We haven't talked about what we played for a while, so I can say that, I have been playing games from the past, Blast for the past for a while. And lately I bought StarCraft 2 on the Battle.net platform. So Blizzard again, after Warcraft Reforged and WoW. And so I'm a Blizzard fan. I never realized it, but I am. And StarCraft 2 is an RTS, real-time strategy. I know it's not something that you make these days, but like Red Alert, Tiberium Wars, Command & Conquer, this kind of game, StarCraft 2, I never played because I wasn't really attracted to it when I was a kid. And what a mistake. What a mistake it is. It's fantastic. I really love it. In the StarCraft 2 is a very old game, but as you may know, it's an esport game, a very, very strong esport game. So the cinematics on it are very nicely made. They are almost brand new, very good. So they have lots of stories. I finished the first campaign, human campaign, Wings of Liberty. And I'm going to start, whenever I can, the second campaign with the Zerg. So there's going to be a third campaign with the Protoss. And the fourth one, I don't think it's a campaign, but more like some side mission with a Spec Ops lady called Nova. It's fantastic. It's really cool to go back to an old RTS like this. I understand why so many people are crazy about it. And of course, StarCraft is the game who introduced Zergrush. I don't know if you know that, but when you play online with other people, the guy who creates the structure in a very definite order to create basic units and rush you at the beginning of the game when you're like, I'm going to put my tower here and I'm going to do this and that. And all of a sudden you have a flood of basic creatures destroying your base. That's a Zergrush. And that's coming from there. And that's why I hate online playing with other people. I much prefer playing by myself on the campaign. But yeah, it's coming from there.
Nice. Yeah, I was a big RTS fan. I have not played an RTS in a very long time. I think before I left to India, I was playing Age of Empires 4. I was really enjoying that. Unfortunately, as usually when you take a break from games as a middle-aged gamer, you come back and you're like, oh, do I want to get back into that? And I ended up doing a bunch of Switch stuff. And then now I'm back onto PC with Xbox Game Pass. I'm playing Everspace 2 at the moment. And I guess I'll talk about that. Yeah, that's fantastic. And I was telling the guys before the show started, I was just not feeling work these days and feeling a bit dissatisfied. So I'm like, oh God, I need to shoot something. And I could not find like a visceral, violent game that satisfied me. I'm like, okay, let's try for a space action game. And it was pretty fun. So if you've not heard of it, Everspace is like the space roguelite game. I think it's the only space roguelite game. And the first one was basically you start off in a ship, you go around, shoot stuff, you die. After you die, you upgrade your ship, just like a typical roguelike game. The second one, they've put in a bunch of like this stories in there, and it's like an RPG. There's upgrade systems and stuff. It's like totally changed. And you can imagine being me, I'm not a big fan of the story. I'm like, I just want to shoot stuff, die, and do it again, right? I don't want to listen to this story. And the worst part is, right, the guy's name's Adam, and he sounds just like this Adam over here.
Oh, he's awesome.
So yeah, he's awesome. He's like a cool military like clone pilot thing, but it's a really fun game. It's pretty, again, it's like the typical Everspace price point. It's about $30, free for Game Pass at the moment if you're interested. Yeah, I'm enjoying that a lot, and looking forward to playing it today since I did not have a chance yesterday. Adam, you've been playing. Oh my God, I forgot already.
I've been playing everything. I just finished Persona 5. So finally, it said that to beat Persona 5, it should take you 130 hours. It took me 129 hours and 8 minutes. Thank you very much. I was 53 minutes fast. But
well done.
Yeah, I know. But the way Persona does time, with the limited of days and weeks, this is not a game where I can go wandering off like StarCraft. So, or sorry, like Starfield. So that's probably why I was able to beat it in time. However, I did not do some things that were necessary to unlock the third semester. So basically, I got the base game ending, not the Persona 5 Royal ending. So I'm going to have to go through and play New Game Plus now. So I'm going to do that, but April has me spoiled for choice with Jedi Survivor and Forbidden West, and what was the other one that was coming out? I can't even remember. But lots of stuff coming out this month, and then I'm still doing the Frozen Flame beta. They had an open beta. It was supposed to last through the end of the week, but as of yesterday, they took down most of the public servers, so I'm not quite sure if they're going to put those back up before the end of the week or not. So I've been streaming that, having a lot of fun doing the survival mode with that. And yeah, so starting this week, I'm going to be doing Burning Shores, and then after that, I might move back into Persona. We'll see.
We still got a little bit of time. I saw something interesting on Instagram today that I thought I figured I'd ask you guys. And it was like, if somebody's starting as a new PC gamer or a new PlayStation gamer or a new Switch gamer, what are 5 things they should know if they just bought a PlayStation today or a Switch today or a PC today? So we know what Adam's going to be doing. He's going to do the PlayStation. Antoine, do you want to do PC or Switch?
PC.
PC? Okay, then I'll do the Switch. Let's go. Let's since we only have 7 minutes, let's aim for 3 each. 3 things someone should know if they're buying a PlayStation today, 3 for PC, and I'll do 3 for Switch. We'll go Adam first.
I would say that depending on where you are, so this is something, if you're in the States, it's probably not an important thing, but for somebody like me, knowing that games are released differently on different regions, so always make sure you got your language settings. But what you can do with most games is I could buy a game on my US account, play it on my Taiwanese account, and I could still get trophies and everything for it. So for example, Persona 5 here, this is the US version of the game, but I'm playing it on my Taiwanese account. So yeah, you can buy things across that. What else? What do you need to know? How to use a controller. I mean, like, I'm trying to think, like, what do you need to know? Yeah, I don't know. I need more time to think.
Okay, then we'll go on to Antoine. We can come back and cut those in. All right, Antoine, 3 things for a PC person buying a gaming PC today.
Okay, your PC was very expensive, so you want to play cheap. So you download Steam and wait for Steam sales. You get yourself a PC Game Pass, $10, $11 a month with a massive library. That's cheap. You go on to Epic, one free game every week, nearly, or 1 or 2 actually. That's the 3 things you want. You have absolutely no reason apart from impulse buying to buy a game on day one at full price. That's my advice.
Nice. That is short and quick. That is the perfect short. My 3 things as a Nintendo Switch owner, if you're just buying a Switch today, be mindful that the Nintendo Switch 2 or Pro is probably going to come out within the next year or 2 years. Yes, it's been said this might become like a Half-Life 3 thing, but yep, I believe there's a Nintendo Switch going to come out. Be mindful of that. Number 2, as a middle-aged Nintendo Switch owner, you're going to read lots of things about Joy-Con drift and stuff like that, right? As a middle-aged gamer, you don't have time to play the Switch as seriously and crazily as some other people. I've had a Switch for 6 years, 5 years, a long time. No Joy-Con drift at all because I don't play like a crazy person. So don't worry about Joy-Con drift as much as you're going to read it. Unless you're a crazy 8-hour-a-day gamer for 365 days of the year, you're not going to have to worry about that. Number 3, just echoing of what Antoine said, Switch games are on sale all the time. There's a bunch of YouTubers who cover Switch sales. You can get games for like 49 US cents and up, and decent games at that. You're going to see full price games, so like Mario games come down to like $40 or so. So yes, buy games on sale if you really want to go buy games out. And the 4th thing I should also mention is with the Switch, you can trade games. So if you buy a game from somebody else, you can just say, hey, lend me your cartridge, plug into your Switch, you can play that. That's it for me. And we'll run off with Adam.
Okay, so basically make good use of sleep mode. You can definitely, if you want to download something, then you can download it while it's in sleep mode. For instance, all your patches and stuff will automatically do that. So if you turn your game off, when you turn it back on, if you've got a new patch, you got to download it, you got to install it. But if you leave it in sleep mode, it'll automatically cover all those things for you. And for the last one, oh crud, I had it and then I forgot it. Oh no. Ugh. Yeah, it's so hard. If you are the kind of person who's going to be doing any kind of recording or any kind of video editing or anything like that, the controller, I have one right here, there's a little button on it, and this button, if the button is on, then that means that if the button is on, that means the microphone is off. So by default, the microphone is on. So I've seen lots of people put up clips online, like I was watching somebody doing a Final Fantasy Tetra Rhythm game, and you can just throughout the entire clip hear this click, 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 click. That is because they did not turn the microphone off. It is on by default, and it is going to hear every button press in that thing. So if you are using headphones, it's not going to be an issue. But if you only want to record game footage, make sure you mute your mic.
That is very useful advice, and that sounds about perfect. Just to keep you guys updated, and we'd like to thank everyone who has done it so far. We have hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so a big thank you to everyone who has supported us, especially all the people who support Phil and still continue to watch us. Hopefully, we'll get Phil on back at some point in the future. To all the new people who love the shorts, keep in mind that we're trying out 1 short a day, thanks to Antoine's suggestion. So we did 1 short a day since last week. You guys have loved it. I'm going to continue doing that. So come back to the channel every day. You don't need to come back to the channel. Turn on your YouTube app every day. And if you like our stuff, you will eventually see it. I mean, I see our shorts all the time. You can find them on Facebook as well. You can also find them on Instagram and TikTok. So keep an eye out on that. And then, stay tuned for next week for more news, more current gaming, and we will see you guys next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye. Yes, suggested.